This is going to be annoying for you guys. I'm going to start over a little bit. So, motion is a change in an object's position over time. Speed, we can calculate speed by distance over time. You are also able to find distance, speed, and time if given the other variables. You also know, you guys know a lot of stuff, that velocity is the same thing as speed, but it has direction with it. Now, if velocity changes in any way, then you are accelerating, okay? And accelerating could be speeding up, could be slowing down, it could be changing direction, or a combination of both. So we know it's more than just speeding up this way, okay? Today what we're going to do is we're going to do a little reminder, little interpreting graphs today. In fact, I'm going to send you to your breakout rooms, and you have 4 different graphs. And these graphs have the Pear Deck questions in them. So when you go to your breakout rooms, I want you to unmute yourselves. It's going to be you and one other person. And I want you to talk about it first and then answer the question. Okay? You're going to hit a stop sign. You have 2 choices when you hit that stop sign. You can either hang out and chit chat with each other, or just head back to the main room by hitting the red button on the bottom that says leave your breakout rooms, okay? When you get to your breakout rooms, I will change this presentation to be student driven, and so you can work on them together. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing, and I'm gonna go ahead and send you to your breakout rooms. Let me pause recording real quick. Oh wow. If this graph was position on this side and position was staying constant, then we would not be in motion. But we're looking at speed. So speed is constant, the object is in motion. Good. All right, let me clear it again. And what about this graph? What does this graph tell you about the object's motion here? Luke, what does this graph tell you?
It tells me the object is moving slower as time passes.
Okay, thank you. Aditha?
I see that the speed is decreasing while the time is increasing.
Okay. One more. Jacob, Villanueva.
The speed that has decreases as the time goes on. As the time increases, the speed decreases.
Thank you. So it's a negative slope. Speed is going down, so it's decreasing. Let me clear your hands. Our last graph, your last opportunity to participate. What about this graph? What is the object doing in this one? Kevin, what is the object doing this time?
The object's speed is increasing over time.
All right, thank you. Sydney, what's going on? Okay, speed is increasing. Thank you. And Shanvita.
The graph shows that the speed is increasing.
Okay, good. So we see the slope of the line is going up. The speed is also going up, okay? What we're gonna end up doing right now is we're gonna take our first break. Let me go ahead and pause the recording again. Remind me to resume it when again, thank you. Today is all about reviewing graphs, okay? So we saw a few basic ones already. What you're going to end up doing is what's called this moving man activity, and this is your synchronous classwork for the day. I had about half my class finish second period, and then they only had a few more to do. So thank you, Kevin and Misha. Okay. When you do this, though, let me show you. There is this PhET simulation. Now, when you first open this up, you're going to see this guy standing here. On the formative sheet, you're not going to, there's a link here, but it doesn't work. It's not active. So I put the link in the chat box for you. I also linked it to the assignment, so it's here in case you need it later, okay? So when you open up the PhET simulation, you're gonna see this guy standing here, and you need to go to the charts, link on the charts section up here, okay? Now, all of these instructions that I'm going with you over are right here on the actual worksheet. So when I look at the worksheet itself, it says where to go, and it says click on charts, okay? Now, the first graph we're gonna do is gonna be position versus time. So when you open it up for the first time, you're going to see 3 charts like this. We don't need all 3 charts. We only need the chart that we're gonna focus on, which for the first graph, it says right here, position versus time. So what I'm gonna do is this red minus sign, I'm gonna click it for velocity to get rid of it and click it for acceleration. Now I have this big graph. It's gonna be really easier to see, okay? Now what your job is today is to create a graph that is similar to the graph I gave you right here. But disclaimer, your graph is not going to be nice and pretty like this, okay? The moving man activity is pretty challenging to push through. So your graph is probably going to be jagged and rough and maybe squished and not as extent. That's okay. What you want to do is you want to move this guy. You can literally click on him and move him. And your job is to try to recreate that graph that I posted on the assignment, okay? I can move the guy, or I can grab this arrow on the left side and do the same thing, okay? Some students like the arrow better. They say they have more control over what he's doing, okay? Now, you want to do a decent job making a graph that's similar to the one I made you, but do not spend hours trying to make it perfect. You should be spending 5, no more than 10 minutes making the actual graph, okay? Because what we need to do then, if you look at number 1, we are going to insert a screenshot of your graph. So once you have that graph done, I already looked it up. If on the Chromebooks to take a screenshot, you're gonna do Control and this like camera looking thing above number 6 button. You push those 2, you get a screenshot. That screenshot automatically saves to the computer. So all you need to do is then on number 1, you're gonna click on that blue plus sign and go to Image. And then you can click on My Computer. Another option is it'll ask you copy to clipboard. You can copy it to your clipboard and then just paste it in here also. So that's another option for you, okay? The most important part is not really the graph you create, although I do want it to be similar to my shape, but it's not gonna be as pretty. I'll give you a little insider trick. The way I drew this was not on Moving Man. I cheated. I'm being completely honest with you. I made this graphs in Google Drawings, okay? In motion, in the moving man activity, it's almost impossible to make this nice smooth line the way you see it here. So please don't spend forever on the image. Get it similar, take a picture of it and then input it here. What I'm really looking forward to is reading what you put on the even numbers. What did the man do to make that graph? So if we saw over here, this man, I had to move him backwards forwards. When it goes to velocity, it's going to even look at how quickly. Notice, look at all these jagged marks. That's what your graph is going to look like when you do velocity. When we do acceleration, holy moly, look at all these, look at an earthquake, okay? So you want to try to do your best to make that shape. But this guy, if we reset, depending on how fast or how slow I move him, I go really fast, I can try to do this as much as possible. And it's pretty challenging. I don't want to spend forever on it, but I do want to get a pretty good understanding of what this guy is doing to make this shape graph. Okay? The first two graphs you're doing are position versus time. The instructions are here. Read them. When you get to graph C, it changes. Now we're doing velocity versus time. And then when we go to graph D, it changes to acceleration versus time here. Okay? Questions for me? You will have questions once you start playing around with it. So go ahead, go to Google Classroom, open up your moving man activity, and I am here to help you get the questions. How did I enlarge the graph? So the way you do that is you have to, they're all open, right? You need to do the red minus sign to get rid of velocity and acceleration so that you're only left with position for the first graph. Okay? All right. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording because that's all we need.